welcome to the Cos and Brew Show!
Yeah!
What is up, Cos?
What is up? What is up? You know, I'm sitting here. I've got my Kona Isles coffee here. I've got some sort of vegan soup. I've got playoff basketball and brewski. What could be better?
You know, I'm dangerously low on the Hawaiian Isles Kona coffee front. They sent just a boatload when they first sent their coffee out to us. So I'm looking at the last box right now, sort of in fear that I'm gonna run out. So we do have a meeting with them on Tuesday, and I'm just gonna sort of like put my hands out, like, what is that? The little boy is like, please, sir, can I have another? And hopefully they'll.
The Twist, right?
Is that Oliver Twist? Yeah. That's a book I didn't read.
Is it Oliver Twist, or is it the kid from the Christmas Carol?
Is it the Christmas Carol? Oh man, we're old. These kids listening to this show have no idea what that is, and I kind of barely.
Like Oliver Twist, isn't that the new dance that One Step did? Or is that the God, we're gonna just date ourselves on this. The floss, right? Are you talking about the floss? I swear, you know what? If we could just patent a summer dance craze, like, I think we would just be rich immediately. Because that floss thing is funny because, like, never. I mean, I'm not like a great dancer by any stretch. I enjoy, I used to in my 20s go dancing a lot and stuff, but I wouldn't consider myself a great dancer. But I've never heard a piece of music and been tempted to do that. Like, it just seems like way too much work.
I don't understand.
It's like it doesn't look cool, so I don't understand why people are doing that.
And then there was a flurry of advertisements. The ad execs thought, hey, you know what? Everybody doing the floss in our ad is really going to push some products. So let's just green light a lot of flossing. Speaking of flossing, it feels like every time we do an open cause, we're just going to go off the rails. And then I'm going to say, speaking of whatever the hell doesn't have anything to do with the next thing I'm going to say, which is playoffs. Where is Pitbull when we need him? Playoffs.
I have seen. This is the least amount of Pitbull I've seen in a playoff year in a while. But you know where I see a lot of Pitbull is on advertisements for these big motivational seminars. So it'll be like, come listen to such and such billionaire and Magic Johnson and this person and Condoleezza Rice and Pitbull. I don't know. I'm interested in his story because I have heard him talk a little bit about when he was a kid and stuff his dad made him do, and it's fairly interesting. But he's always like the odd man out, and I swear they're everywhere. They're on billboards, whatever. It'd be like a couple of billionaires, a really rich, famous person that did well in business, and Pitbull.
Sorry, I'm dying over here just because he's not a divisive figure. He's a unifying figure that this country needs right now. I bet if they came back and did a reprise of the Pitbull Keisha playoff song, we would all be on board. It would be great. Nothing unifies basketball Twitter like that and John Tesh.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk some playoffs here. So we've got 4 series, and obviously we have possibly what you could call the NBA Finals with Golden State and Houston. And let's just go ahead and start there.
You're on that.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's go right into the meaty topic. This has been it's been a tight series. It's been obviously hotly contested. The first game was pretty god awful to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just the arguing and just the if you watch it with Twitter, you've got this just constant flow of total garbage, going through your veins. Twitter hit us up for a sponsorship. the defensive landing zone stuff and the way that the Rockets go about it is the big story out of Game 1. Game 2 came around, and it was a really strange game because you had Steph get hurt for a little bit, and then you had James Harden get hit in the eyes. And before he got hit in the eyes, he was hesitant because I don't think he felt his shot very well. And once he got hit in the eyes, he really just passed up a lot of shots. To me, that bogged down their offense. So where are you with that series right now?
We're going to find out a lot about the Warriors tomorrow because they can wrap this thing up. Houston is doing everything in their power to make sure that they don't win this series. They are, I think, last year they were very hungry, and I kind of think they think that the whole if Chris Paul hadn't got hurt, we would have won. They've kind of taken that to heart and kind of mentally given themselves a championship that they didn't earn, and they're kind of going through the motions, and it doesn't feel right. Their defense has been atrocious to me, like the decision making. I don't know why they are keeping Harden on Kevin Durant, who's playing at like this ungodly level right now. I don't know why you would take your worst defender and seemingly go out of your way to put him on him. There's just a lot of issues. The whole thing with the landing zone and stuff. I thought there was a gripe in the first half. I thought, some of particularly the Klay Thompson ones, not only were bonehead, but quite frankly, they were quite dangerous. I think that if somebody was playing defense on Klay or stuff like that, Warrior Nation would be pretty riled up and upset. But that being said, then they leaked that report about last year's Game 7 and all that nonsense. And it's like, if your game plan is to have the other team get penalized, if that's a major part of your plan, you have no plan. And you don't intend on doing the dirty work that it takes to win a championship. So, maybe some home cooking is what they need, but this team doesn't seem to have, even though these games have been, they've been tight, they don't seem to have the willingness to do the little things that they need to do to win this year, as they were doing in last year's series. So
I see a lot of stubbornness, but the thing that's really striking is that they just seem slow to me. Like, I mean, look at that. Harden seems slow, and granted, it's because he's up against the backdrop of Andre Iguodala. But then, like Capella, he looks like he's running in molasses out there, and I'm not quite sure if his illness, it's like he has a bad game, it's the illness. He has a good game, the illness has just disappeared. You don't know what's going on there, but I've noticed even though he's had a nice season statistically this year, he's been pretty slow all year. Chris Paul obviously is no spring chicken. Eric Gordon's just sort of doing his thing. He looks fine to me. Eddie Howe, or pardon me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say Eddie House. Danwell House is he kind of looks a little slow to me. So they just look slow, and that's before you get to the game plan stuff. My gripe with them in Game 1 was it sure seemed like James Harden and Chris Paul wanted to just assert that they were as good or better than the people that were covering them. They didn't want to give in to the idea that they needed to go Steph hunting. So they get all these switches, but still, Harden's trying to take Iguodala off the dribble, and he doesn't quite have the step when you can just sort of move the ball around and get your switch with Steph defending whoever you're going to go at him with. You can really put a lot of pressure on Steph, for one. For two, you're getting a better look, and you're just not driving right into the teeth of the defense. So I felt like they were just really stubborn, and I get that to a certain degree. You don't want to just concede, hey, you guys are better than me, and
I think they are doing, less switching. The Warriors are doing less switching than I've ever seen them do. Like, they're not it's not quite as bad as it's been in recent years, but they have something with Iguodala on James Harden. He really just can't get by him. And
which is different than last year.
Well, yeah, because I think the Warriors, for the last 5 years have been really mindless. They've kind of started the mindless switching in the NBA. And I think in this, I've seen Clay quite a few times fighting over screens to stay on this guy. Andre's been doing it, and Durant's been doing it, at certain times. So that's a problem for Houston. But plus, you're right, they're not really probing enough, and that comes because one guy's got the ball in his hands for, the first, 16 seconds of the shot clock. It's kind of hard to probe and see what a team will do if one guy's just going to stand in one place with the ball. I think Eric Gordon's fine, but I think he's so much better when he's, mixing up his game. I mean, if he's just going to be a spot-up shooter, then it's just a make-miss thing. I think he brings so much more to the table when he's taking it in. He's got a big body. He can finish with contact. I think that would really alleviate a lot of the problems because right now, and not only is he just standing in one spot shooting, he's standing 6 feet behind the line. Is there a particular reason why he can't go get a normal three? Why he has to shoot?
I think it's because of what you said before. Is that he's not getting the ball, and so there's a one way you could get the ball is you just keep creeping out towards the half court line, and you're just way more open, right? Oh, not open here. Okay, hey, I'm a little bit more open here, and just on down the line. That's been, I keep going back to game 1 because game 2 was a little bit odd. I mean, once Harden gets hit with the injury, it really changed to me the dynamic of the game and sort of made it an outlier. But in game 1, the pace that the Rockets played at, I get they're not a fast-paced team. That's not their DNA. But they were just never pushing into any sort of advantage. And you're going up against a set defense and then standing there, till 14 seconds, and Harden's sort of just playing with, okay, I want to get this matchup, I want to get that matchup, but you're right, the Warriors aren't switching it as much, and it just was a lot of nothing out there, and you can't do that.
No, you're doing yourself a disservice because, Draymond Green has really stepped it up on the defensive end.
Did he lose 20 pounds before the playoffs, or is that just me?
He definitely took. He's missing some lbs. There's some lbs that are wandering that used to be on.
He
him.
looks as good as any time in his career right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess I didn't watch enough the last 10 games of the season maybe to see when he did this, but he definitely looks a lot leaner. But he's really stepped up on. He's doing as far as engineering the help. From the back line, he's doing that. What you expect him to do, and so to constantly run into a set defense that's longer than you and is playing excellent help, you gotta push the tempo. You gotta. That doesn't mean shoot fast. It means, but you gotta get the ball across half court to where the Warriors will be scrambling, and then you might have the matchup you want just because they have to just hustle back to get somebody, and they're just kind of floating around. It's like they're really, really just waiting to get back to Houston. The problem is, if the Warriors win a game in Houston, this series over. That's it. They have 2 must wins. They really. I thought game 2, and I thought, there was no sense of urgency because to me, game 2 was the must win. They got to beat the Warriors 4 to 5 times now, and I don't see that happening.
These series, I mean, going down, there's that old adage, the series doesn't start until the home team loses. And so there's that juxtaposed with now you got to win 4 out of 5 if you're Houston. And that's rough.
And another thing, no one's really talking about it because he might win the MVP again. So people don't want to kind of talk about, it might put a bad shine on the MVP and how significant it is. But we're talking, James Harden hasn't been good for 5 games in a row now? At one point, do people stop talking about his regular season and just completely just throw it away and be like, dude, you're getting really bad in the playoffs. Not like you didn't play as well, like you're bad in the playoffs. This is 5 games in a row. He's been nothing to where Houston needs him. You know, that was the worst, 35 points I've ever seen.
Well, it's funny. The playoffs are just these great revealers of what teams. I forget who said this out there, but the playoffs reveal your biggest weakness, and the just whatever who's focusing on you and kind of how they play you. It's just going to find that weakness. And with Harden, I don't know. Maybe he has slowed down. That he does look slow to me. Like he doesn't have quite the snap on whether it's his his fadeaway 3 or just anything in general going to the rack. So he could be nursing an injury that we don't know about. That could be one thing. You always worry about him going hard in the regular season for the awards and what that might look like in the playoffs.
But it's not really going hard during the regular season because he only plays on one side of the court. Like I understand, like I understand having the ball in your hand that much does take stuff out of you, but he literally doesn't play any defense at all for 82 games. Like, I don't want to give him the pass that a lot of people give him of that he's tiring out. Like, how could you be tired? You don't do anything. Like, there was a great play at the end of game 1 where Kevin Durant, it was the last minute or two, he was at the top and he went by his man and he ended up flushing it with 2 hands. The last line of defense was James Harden. He was about 4 feet outside of the key and he was covering Draymond Green in the corner. You can't be 4 feet outside of the key shading towards Draymond Green. You gotta be pushing for an illegal D and getting in there and at least being able to commit a hard foul. You can't and he never moved. He just stood there and watched Kevin Durant take 2 dribbles from the top of the key and dunk it while he had Draymond Green in the corner. So, he might as well have had Stevie Wonder in the corner. You got to get there and help.
Well, can Stevie Wonder shoot in that example? I think bad habits, when things are going, when you get punched in the face, your bad habits get worse. And that's kind of what we're seeing here on certain things. But let's spin this a little bit. Like, the Warriors, or probably the Rockets, have covered in both of their games. That means they're doing better than expectations. And though Vegas had the Warriors as the favorite, it's not the big, favorite number that we've seen in the past. So, despite playing like this, they've lost by 4 and 6 points and been in these games. So what do you make of that?
I make that when you take the amount of threes that the Warriors are taking. And I think that, Steph and Clay are gimpy. Not just a finger for Steph, but the finger was an issue, and he really just kept on chucking. But I think for Clay too, I think I think these few days off, I think, are really going to help with his ankle. They're not moving the ball. They're just, it's Kevin Durant just kind of going crazy.
He's a guy. Defense, if you don't get into his body space or also at the same time get a hand in his face, it's over. They're not doing any when he's off the ball, they're not doing any work to muscle him around. He's just walking to wherever spots he wants it. And once he gets it in the paint, if he gets it in that 8-foot area, it's over. Like he's not gonna miss. He's not gonna miss those shots. And so to be untouched when he's off the ball, walking wherever he wants to walk, and especially since you did everything you could as the Rockets organization to establish between games 1 and 2 that the Warriors are fouling the crap out of you, I think that they could have got away with a lot more off-the-ball physicality, but they didn't even try. That's the one thing that I miss about the 80s basketball and the early 90s basketball is if a guy was going to go off for 40, he was at least going to have some bandages.
Like Kevin Durant's just rolling around, just feeling good, eating people alive, and no one's even bothered to put an elbow in his chest.
It's almost like the Rockets need some guy named Patrick Beverley on their squad.
Almost, you know what? Almost, have some guy that actually doesn't like the team he's competing against.
It's funny, and maybe this is a good time to pivot. You got any final thoughts on this series and any expectations going forward? I mean, I'll quickly add that I've been feeding the machine with just small little Rockets bets because the home team wins, or the home team, the series doesn't start until the home team loses thing. That adage, I'm sort of thinking, okay, these odds, basically the Rockets are 5-1 now, more or less. And, so I'm trying to feed some money into that because theoretically the home team should win and the Rockets should win 2 games. It should be 2-2 going into game 5, and the series starts in a best of 3 type thinking, right? You look at that the other way and you go, they got to win 4 out of 5, and it gets a little less rosy. But are you expecting things to change? You got any last thoughts on this before we move on to grab bag pick the Philly series?
Yeah, we'll see if the Warriors come out really, really focused for Game 3, win or lose. Even if they lose, I think that we're looking at a 5-game series. If Houston puts a significant win, because they will get some more calls at home. I mean, that is the advantage that teams have in the playoffs at home, is that you get more calls. So they'll get more calls. They'll get to the line more. But if they can put on a double-digit win,
they got to punch him in the face.
They got to punch him in the face. They got to win by 10, 12, and have control of the game. But if they just squeak by, this thing is over. It's going to be a 5. It's going to be fiber.
Yeah, I think they really, because I mean, unfortunately, you could have gone with last year's strategy of letting Durant be the conduit and really pushing his mental game, staying home on everybody else. But you got to have somebody that's gonna just punch him in the face. And I don't know, maybe that's Shumpert. Shumpert, 5 minutes in the last game. He, unfortunately, they gave him run of the yard in Sacramento and let him take fadeaway threes and anything he wanted to shoot. And it seems like he's doing that still. He can't quite get away from that style of play, so it's hard to have him on the floor.
Yeah, but if you're gonna be as offensively unaggressive as Chris Paul has been, I'd rather have Shumpert out there. You know what I mean? Like he's just not doing anything on offense. He's just kind of there.
It's really hard to watch. We didn't cover. Let's quickly cover Chris Paul. Like, what's been weird? Both Paul and Harden have had the loosest handle that I've seen them have in a really long time. High dribbles, palm dribbles, just you name it. Like the ball is flying around. I don't get it. Like, have they been dribbling like this all year? Chris Paul can't beat anybody and isn't really doing his signature stuff.
Yeah, Chris Paul, I think, is probably really just old and like hurt. I think he's at a time now in his career where he's just going to be in pain at this time of the year. But he's one of the craftier people I've ever seen in the screen and roll. And he's just got to demand more and just use his craftiness to at least attack and make the Warriors do it. The Warriors aren't doing anything on defense.
No, they're just standing. It's funny. Yeah, it's funny that you say that. They're just standing there.
Standing there. This is like a practice. This is like going over, the shell drill in practice. They're not doing anything. The Rockets are not making the Warriors do anything on defense.
And to close this up, both teams could use with a little bit of additional pace. I think both teams, for whatever reason, want to play this thing slow, and you're just handing the defense an extra 8 seconds and a win. In my opinion, I was going to pivot into the Jimmy Butler thing because Philly, I really put a lot on Toronto. I didn't think that Philly was going to get it together the way that they have in Toronto, and classic Toronto form has opened the door for them to get all sorts of confidence. I mean, Jimmy Butler dunked and he just teabagged, I forget whoever it was, the other night. And then Kawhi did come down, and I came up with a Kawhi nickname. Can I submit to you? What do you think? Kawhi the Librarian Leonard?
The Librarian, I like it. The Librarian.
I think you would have to go with an old 80s style, kind of like the Principal. Like, I get to throw an ad campaign together with Kawhi, the librarian Leonard.
It was really good.
So it passes the sniff test. All right, sweet.
I like it a lot. Let me ask you this question because I was thinking about it. For an all-star, think of all the all-stars you've ever watched play basketball. Is Kyle Lowry the worst playoff performer you've ever seen from all-star? Honestly,
he is killing them out there, and he is the subject of my ire because of said bets. And okay, so let's just go right into Kyle Lowry.
You tell me. Think about it. You have two able to show you.
Oh no, yeah, by far. I can't even think. I can't even I mean, I'm thinking about DeMar DeRozan, and then I'm
the closest guy, but he had a really good series last year against Denver. I thought he played really well.
Yeah. There's something about Toronto, but it's like personalities. Like, so Kyle, this is what you never want with your team: somebody who's not good that thinks that they're really good. And it's not that Kyle Lowry's not good; it's just that he is such a focal point of what they do, and like Chris Paul, he's not doing anything out there.
Doing anything.
I mean, and when he does, it's not a good idea.
I don't know what it is. Like, he's just, I mean, he needs to get in with the, he needs to get in there with the sports psychologist to figure this thing out, because it's such a drastic difference. And then when you look at him as a whole, his whole career, like, he came into the league as a scrapper and a defensive specialist. Like, he worked himself into a hell of an offensive player. Guys like that usually don't crumble under pressure. Guys like that are usually the kind of guys that, like, you could always count on when things get tough. So it's like mind-boggling that he year after year after year just performs in this. It's not like he's just missing shots or something. I think anybody would be fine with that. It's his, dribbling it off his knees. And did he try to go between the guy's legs?
No, either he did that.
Yeah,
he either did that or he slipped. It's one or the other.
But there are always these kind of, like, his performance, you could tell, like, he's nervous. He's uncomfortable. It's like, dude, like, play. Just play.
Well, what's interesting about him is he's been sort of flippant there with the media, and just, like, kind of an ornery personality, and, this has been the way that it's been. And I kind of wonder, like, what the impact on the team is when you have a guy who's not really worked his contract, who's probably not a part of the future of the organization, who's kind of that bombastic of a personality. What does that do on the floor for the floor balance? You got Kawhi out there. Kawhi just needs to probably be. I think Kawhi's been plenty assertive, but still, it's like he needs to do that more. He needs to go run, take the ball from Kyle, and almost kick him off the floor.
I think there's been a couple of instances in this series where he needed to. I mean, as a coach, you'd love that he is going to run whatever the set calls for. But there's been some times where he should have broken off the set and just went and got the ball and done his thing.
Well, and that's the next thing with this series is Nick Nurse is not having a good series.
No, he is.
He's not. And what he said after the Game 2 loss was that guys needed to play harder. And I thought that was incredibly tone deaf.
Yeah.
You can't, like, Serge Ibaka is getting his ass kicked by Joel Embiid. You've got a big hoss in Marc Gasol who, I mean, you almost have to match him minute for minute with that.
Yes.
I mean,
he's getting smoked out there. Even
how do these decisions not? I look at this stuff and go, how? Like, is there not somebody on his staff who, hey, maybe this would be a good idea, coach? And then coach goes, no, we've done this all year.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not turning to. I mean, what is going on?
The guys, and that's really funny that you brought it, because they were talking about it on TNT. That Chuck was saying, like, how much bigger Embiid is than Ibaka, and like, he just doesn't feel him. Like, and he's bigger than the overwhelming majority of guys, but like, Ibaka looks teeny next to him.
Well, Ibaka's also turning in this crazy bad defensive performance. Like, there was a play that they put on film where he just literally didn't put a finger on a guy and just watched him drive around him. I forget who the driver was. I think it was Butler, maybe. It was... So, I mean, Nurse is having a bad series. And I love that that's happened because so many people said, oh, Dwayne Casey this, Dwayne Casey that. And then Nick Nurse was just bequeathed offensive genius, you know, or genius coach or whatever, you know, better coach, right off the shoot, you know, right off the jump there. And, you know, where are people getting that from? Now the playoffs are a tougher place to coach. Jimmy Butler, you know, I was thinking about with the Kevin Durant stuff, like you have to have somebody on your team that will punch somebody in the face metaphorically. Butler has that toughness, and you say whatever you want about a contract, you know, for his next stop, wherever that may be. I think he's a great fit in Philly. I love him playing next to Joel Embiid. I just think it's just Philly in a nutshell right there.
But gotta move Simmons.
Yeah, Simmons is the odd man.
I don't want this show to get out of hand, but it's just so like he just doesn't fit.
I'll say this about Simmons: I've appreciated his defensive effort in this series.
Yes, I'll give him that. Okay, you're right. I'll give him that. He has been there on the defensive end, but offensively he just doesn't. He doesn't even cut. Like, you got to do something. You got to do something out there. You know, he won't move. It's got to do something. So anyway,
this whole offensive IQ thing is just fascinating to me because these guys are at the highest level of the sport, and they're not capable of morphing to whatever the team needs them to be, and it's so different than any other sport. You know,
right?
I mean, baseball is a bad equivalent, but like football is a really good measure. Like, could you imagine just like not running the plays correctly unless you're Randy Moss? Like, you just they do every little detail is so important. You know, the way that their footwork is and just the signals, everything's in sync. And you go to basketball, it's like, you know, he's just going to stand there like, duh. Yeah. What do I do now?
Somebody just like doesn't break their route off on 3rd and short after Brady audibles, and they just go, oh, well, you know, I just didn't do it.
Yeah, right. Like, and I'm not going to change. I'm not going to get any better at this. Come on. What are you talking about? Yeah, no, it's...
would never happen.
Philly has gotten... in my opinion, Philly's got lucky because Toronto has so many matchups that they can just, you know, tap into. Like, I mean, Siakam covering, you know, Harris, you know, like he could just shut him down. So there you go. That's one of 4 guys down.
And what's with this? I mean, this kind of reminds me. I gotta get on Marc Gasol here. You know, kind of doing the LeBron with JJ Barea thing. You cannot have Tobias Harris covering you. I don't care if he goes 3 for 20. You cannot allow them to put Tobias Harris on you, and then you just play high post basketball.
Yeah,
in its block and put your butt in him and move him under the rim and make your layups. Come on, man.
Or get your easy assist, develop a 3-point shot out of it. Like he's having a terrible series in that respect. Because you got Nurse is going to play him opposite Embiid, so that means that he's going to go against somebody like Tobias Harris quite often. You know, he's not going to find somebody in the post that can cover him. But he all year has been that way, where you just sort of like, hey man, you got this advantage, and he hasn't used it at all this season. So his stock has declined. But he is an integral part of the defense. He's had a pretty good defensive series. I think he's made a lot of plays. But Toronto, it comes back to Kyle Lowry for me. Like, his personality is being sort of, you know, through osmosis, I think, making this team a little less confident than they should be. And they also just walking it up for them has killed them as well. I've been on the under for these guys, so I'm happy. I've been getting paid, but it's not. It's just not smart to constantly walk up and let the defense get set. And you have players like Kawhi who can run, Pascal can run, Danny Green can't really run, but theoretically you can get some stuff in transition and make things a little bit easier for you. I'm not gonna move off of Toronto. I think they still take this series.
I'm there, but what they're doing is making this a lot harder for themselves, and they're also
they took their foot off their throat.
Yeah, they're making it much more difficult, and they're also helping Kawhi Leonard pack his bags. I mean, if they have any interest in keeping that guy, they gotta play better. I mean,
I wonder if you scale back Lowry's minutes.
You would think that, but Van Fleet's playing terrible too. That would be the ideal would be to do that, but Van Fleet's been terrible. He hasn't done anything.
Well, and one of the things that I think that comes back to is that second lineup has just I've seen some lineups out there where you've got like, Van Vliet, Green, basically just second unit guys that are not able to generate any looks. Ibaka has been out there in some of those lineups where it's like nobody can beat anybody really off the dribble, and they're just sort of running stuff and they're not getting anywhere. So maybe Van Vliet's been a victim of that, but he's got to be better. I'll still stick with Toronto. It might be my famous last words, but that is the way that it is. But at Philly though, with that toughness, and one more thing on Jimmy Butler is like, man, you can't put a price on that, and I almost might get behind a team. I know somebody flipped through it out there in Sacramento land, like, what about Jimmy Butler there? I mean, just to be able to add that kind of toughness to, and there was one of those inside tracks things where he was all mic'd up. I mean, he's a communicator on defense.
Yeah. And I like one of those times when they came off the floor and he was like telling everybody how great a defense they played and stuff. Like, yeah, I'll get behind that. I mean, it might be bad money at the end, but if you're Philly and you don't have really, you got to look at the Embiid thing as like you only have like maybe 2 years anyway before his health really gets to a point where he can't be good anymore. It might be worth it to me. It's worth the thing, and certainly for another team. Because he hasn't, like a lot of guys that have this they play hard to do all this and it wavers. He keeps getting bounced around team to team, and that does not go away. His competitiveness and what he brings in has not gone away. So, yeah, he's a lifer. He's a basketball lifer. He's got it in his blood.
Let's look at the map and let's figure out who we're going to talk about next. We got two choices. Let's go. It's a nice Friday night slate tonight. We got two games, so everybody get your favorite beverage and whatever the hell you're eating these days, and let's talk Milwaukee, Boston. So this is one of those rare times that we disagree, and I was like all riding high, getting ready to talk trash because I got Boston after game one. I'm like, feeling good, and then boom. Milwaukee snapped back and took game two. Kyrie's numbers in the regular season were not good against Milwaukee. He had a 9 for 27 night, I want to say, and something similar in another night. What's your read on these guys? Heading into game three, is this? I mean, Boston's favored by just 2 points tonight. Yeah. I kind of look at that and go, really? Like, that's, to me, it seems like they should get a little bit more love. But what are your thoughts?
That means that Vegas thinks they're going to lose, I think.
You're absolutely... Well, the public, we should say the public thinks that. Because but you're right. 3 points is generally the rule of thumb, and it's only 2.
I think that if you're... it was an interesting series because, I think that Milwaukee was kind of like deer in headlights in game one, and the Celtics just played excellent. Horford was amazing. Offensively, they were moving around, and even though Tatum didn't have a good game, he still was like engaged, and like they played really, really well. And then of course Milwaukee played, no one could hit a shot, so that really affected Giannis, and that he has to get better. He's just not very good at passing out of double teams. He's got to do better about that. But in game two, I don't really know how to judge game two because I think the Celtics just didn't try. Like, they looked like a team that went in there to get a split, and they were completely happy with the split. That they really had no intention of grinding out a game and possibly losing. They said, like, we're going for a split. We got our split. I don't want to put too much effort out in case we lose because we already got the split. And so we'll just go home to Boston and take care of business there. And that's a very, very dangerous. That usually doesn't work out for teams.
Yeah, so, I mean, is that on Kyrie? Like, I mean,
I think it's all. I thought it was a collective. I just didn't see anybody with any kind of like. And it wasn't that they weren't playing hard per se. They just were kind of going through the motions and just kind of like taking way too long to get into sets. And then that moved towards Kyrie going 1-1 stuff. Tatum didn't. Even though he wasn't shooting the ball well or shooting much in game one, I felt he was still engaged with penetrating and moving and whipping the ball around. He wasn't really engaged at all in this game. I just don't think that they just weren't in it. I think they were happy with their split. And that's usually going to catch up to you. So
somebody somewhere is going to have to do something really smart, much smarter than I'll put this. But there's like this gear in any facet of life where you kind of from like 90% to 100%, where you are so locked in that nothing can move you off anything, and you're constantly just doing everything in the most optimal way. And you kind of want that out of your basketball team in the playoffs.
Right.
And it's such a mental grind to think that way because nothing else matters. You're just tunnel vision. And I've been this way in fantasy basketball analysis or, just sort of like studying for whatever I study for. And, you just feel like you're so locked in. You go to take whatever test that test might be, and you just have so much confidence that you're going to do it the right way that you don't even think about doing it the wrong way. And with the approach on whether it's getting into sets or finding the right matchups or knowing when you need to defer or, hey, I'm not good in this particular thing, maybe you should do it. That synchronicity and that being on that cutting edge is just not there so often. And it's to me, I wonder if it's just because the mental grind is so tough. Somebody out there, if they can figure out how people tap into that 90th percentile and above, that is to me like where all the money gets made on this stuff. Because the Celtics, bring it full circle, the vacuum of leadership, if Kyrie Irving is your leader, and you got a bunch of young guys that don't feel like they're getting the love, that could be why you see just this hesitancy to do things in an optimal way. That's all I got there, because I really think that Boston has a lot of different unique advantages in this series with some of their depth, the talent, overall talent level. One thing about that last game, 123-102, the Bucks won. Chris Middleton, 7 3-pointers. He was on fire. Brook Lopez had 3 trays. Bledsoe, 7 of 12. Man, these guys were comfortable.
Bledsoe, I thought definitely played a lot better and played the way he's been playing throughout the season. Brook Lopez, I don't know what he was doing in game one. He was just hanging out. I mean, he was literally just walking around out there, just enjoying the show. I don't think you can expect Middleton to hit 7 threes again, but again, it was his level of engagement that you had to like if you're Milwaukee. So we're gonna find out. Everyone's been saying, everyone that doesn't want to pick Milwaukee, it's always like we don't think that they're necessarily ready. And so this is the kind of game where we're going to see if they're ready. If they come out and the Boston crowd is just overwhelming them and they're not moving and they're not doing much, then we'll know probably that they're not ready. And that's not again it's not a matter of whether they win or lose. It's how they go about it.
There's plenty of things that we said about Boston, but typically the crowds that have all the banners hanging in the rafters, they could be a little mellow if it's not the finals. That crowd brings it, man.
Yeah.
They bring it, and it doesn't matter how many rich people are in the building. They bring it.
Right.
And one last thing before we move into Denver. Shout out to Eric Bledsoe, who is practicing meditation.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Makes
which is,
sense.
I mean, hey, if you're wondering why somebody takes a step forward, you might look at that. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I'm staying on the
You stay on Milwaukee?
Milwaukee, but it feels more like a 7-game. Both that and we didn't say in Toronto, but that feels like a 7-gamer to me too. Well, I had those both in 6, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna stay on
this one,
Boston.
yeah.
I kept leaning into it. I figured the 1-1 after this big loss, the odds were right to throw a little bit more money on Boston. Disagreement, very rare over here at the Cause and Brew show. We got Denver and Portland. I'm actually enjoying this series. The just like, I love Damian Lillard right now. I love everything he stands for. I love everything that he's just saying. He had this quote, and I'm gonna not remember what it is, but it was basically like, this isn't pressure. Pressure is not knowing where your next meal comes from. For me to sit here and say that this is a pressure-packed situation almost does the people that have real pressure in their life, it almost does them a disservice. He's really just got his head screwed on straight. And so Portland is fun to watch. Now, I did not think they had a shot in this series.
You didn't?
No, not a shot. That's probably too strong. But I just... looking at the depth of wings that Denver has that they could throw at Lillard if they want, they can just throw waves of wings if they wanted to foul him with every wing that they had. We don't want to put a guy like that on the foul line, but if you wanted to rough him up, you could completely sell out on him. And Cantor, I think as far as matchups go, Jokic probably, you don't find matchups that Jokic is good in very often. You'd think Cantor would be one of them, but Cantor's been pushing him around a little bit.
Cantor has been balling.
Yeah.
These playoffs. He has been balling.
And good for him. He had to put up with the Knicks. And, go ahead.
It's kind of funny what you said about, what Lillard just said, and I think you can kind of say the same for Cantor. And this is a guy who, has hits out on his life. His family is in constant danger in Turkey. For those who don't know, he's very outspoken against the dictatorship there. And so there's literally places in the world that he cannot go because he's going to get killed. So his whole approach to life in basketball is just different. He's still taking this time. He's 2 really good games. And he is he's actually using fouls better than any big man I've seen in years. Every single time he fouls someone, it has a purpose and it's actually crucial. It's stopping runs, it's reinforcing that you're not just going to walk through the paint. I think he is playing very high level, excellent basketball, but he's playing free. Because there's just bigger things in life, for Enes Kanter. Sure,
yeah, and I thought that the NBA firing the Turkish NBA outlets social media guy who basically is either connected to the dictatorship or however they didn't want to tweet anything with Kanter's picture because they get in trouble. I mean,
right.
that was a good move by the NBA. To get right ahead of it, and really good by Cantor to point that out. At risk to himself, nobody likes the complaining guy, and he's out there just standing for what he believes in, and good for him. Mo Harkless is a little banged up heading into Game 3. This is where the depth issues come into play for Portland. Are they going to be able to sustain any sort of injuries? And then with the waves of players that Denver can throw at them, that would be a little bit of a concern. But I think Denver struggles with the same thing a lot of these teams that we've been talking about struggles with is just getting into the right stuff and making sure that they're not just playing sort of suboptimal ball. It's hard to put a finger on with Denver sometimes because you on one hand you got Jokic flinging the ball around in a very strong way. He's good with his decision making, but I watched them in their brick fest the other night. Missed a lot of open shots. in that game.
Yeah.
I don't think either team can really stop each other very much.
So, it's hard to figure out, but Denver has a difficult time putting runs together when the other team isn't doing something stupid. You know, like they can have matchups and they could be doing something that's really working, and if the other team can like come back at them, they like fall apart and they move away from what they were doing. It's really weird. Like for them, like 20-2 run, it can't just be because they're getting stops and playing basketball. It's like the other team has to really, really, really help them. And I don't know exactly why. It might be because their guard is the center, and when the game is moving fast, they have people who aren't very good decision makers that are making the decisions and have the ball in their hand for 4 or 5 in a row. And so the best decision maker might not touch the ball. I think that has something to do with it. But there's times I'm watching them, okay, they go on a 8-0, 10-0 run, and then like the other team scores a couple of points, and then they just completely scrap everything, and you're like, what are you doing? Like what are you doing right now?
It's that part about players not making great decisions. Hey, shout out to Michael Malone for only playing Will Barton 17 minutes in Game 2. In those 17 minutes, Barton pulled down 11 rebounds, so that's pretty damn impressive. Maybe he was collecting all those bricks. Who knows? Only 3 offensive, but he's been bad, man. Like. And gumming up the offense, and but only 17 minutes in that loss. There's the one thing that we're not seeing, and we didn't see it in the last series against Portland either, is you gotta put Cantor in the pick and roll. This stuff. I mean, you can't get. This is money on the table for teams, and this, like, we got to run our system. We got to pass it around 3 times. This is what we do. Like, that stuff is killing teams, and I think coaches are aware of it. I think coaches just don't know how to stop their players from just sort of playing. And
it's a problem. Like this idea that we have to empower the players to give them all these options. It's funny because the average player is so less experienced. The guys aren't going to college for 4 years. They're not playing in a minor league system. So we're coaches were a lot more strict and ran a lot of sets, in the past with not a lot of options, and they had way higher IQ players. Now we're saying, you guys with less basketball IQ, you guys get the keys to the car. You guys can do whatever you want, and it creates this basketball. But in these tight situations, you're like, good Lord, like what? This is awful. Like these are just awful decision making. Like it's just like the lemmings just running off the cliff following you. You're like, what are you doing?
I think a lot of it has to do with certain offensive moves. You have to sort of rise and fire or make whatever decision you're going to make. You got to do it so fast. And it's such it's the way that people get their points or their whatever, kind of production, is they know that if they sell out on that decision, that they're going to get enough daylight to make it happen. So these guys are moving into that without really thinking, okay, hey, is this really what we want to do here? But it's worked for them the entire year, and it's really fascinating because there's if you contrast that with pre-rule change isolation ball from the 80s and early 90s, it's like the minute the matchup was either discovered or they just knew about it going into the game, they never went away from it. They just isolate. I mean, an ISO every time down the floor. Until it was over.
It's like the guy that can't hit the changeup in baseball. Yeah. In baseball, if a guy can't hit a changeup, he ain't never going to see a fastball. he'll never see a fastball. If the guy has a changeup, he will never see a fastball. They don't just throw him a fastball right down the thing just to show that they can do it. No,
but and in the NBA, that's what it is. I like my changeup, so I'm going to throw it anyway. Oh, it went over the fence. Yeah. Well, guess what? We're going to do it again because now I'm pissed off.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like you were saying, you were trying, like, the analogy that I found about the playoffs was Kenny Smith said it best. He said, like, the playoffs is like when you have a string hanging off your sweater and you pull it and it just keeps on pulling the sweater and the sweater then is disintegrated. He's like, that's what the playoffs are. You find the weakness, you could just pound the crap at it. Once you find it, there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. But today's NBA, everyone stops their own. They discover the weakness and then they say, no, we're not going to do it. Kind of like the cancer thing in this pick and roll. Like they're just nah. We want to play more free, so we're not just going to screen and roll him every possession that he's in.
It's so demoralizing when you do that, and then the threat of it becomes worse than the reality of it. So,
absolutely.
I mean, it's just like a mind bleep for anybody involved. Like, if you're a weak side defender and Canner could theoretically get burnt for the 50th time in a row, you are so screwed. Like, and it's just like the counter to the counter to the counter. You have it, man. You plant that seed in the defender's mind, and you're just on that no man's land island, which anybody who's ever played any sport at any level knows. Once you feel like you are just screwed anyway you're going to go about it, you just get demoralized. And it's like when a rookie like right or left tackle comes into the NFL and they have to go like great pass rusher. Like the first time they go left, the next time they beat him right, then they spin him. Then they're not even making moves anymore because it's so implanted in the tackle's head. Like, I gotta get up and I gotta go over here, and then the pass rusher's just walking by them to the quarterback. Like, you can do that in like every sport. And this is one of those, like, if they put Canner in that screen and roll, like, every possession, they're going to get so many open threes just because everyone's going to be tucked in. Oh, my God. I got to be in help position. But the guy hasn't even passed half court yet. I got to be in help. Canner's about to get burned. I do find in that series, and we're going to wrap it up here, I do find it in that series that there's a lot of sort of kind of like tall, athletic, big men. Not, Jokic set aside, but you got Plumlee, you got Zach Collins. These guys are. It's like a chess match with rooks out there, where those big men, and it contrasts. Just you got this guard play with Lillard and McCollum, and on the other side, you got a lot of good wings out there, so it's not like it's a big man dominated series or anything like that. But these guys coming out there, Myers Leonard has had a decent series.
Yes.
It's a weird little kind of wonky, if you're really into the basketball weeds, series. And then you got enough cachet with Lillard there. I think that one's going to go 7. I love the second round of the playoffs. I'm really excited about this round, and we'll see how it all turns out with the Warriors, because I think that's obviously the big thing that everybody's watching for. But I don't know about you, Kaz.
I think that teams were. I think that part of people's thought that the Warriors weren't going to win a championship this year had to do with Houston really making them work. And I think if they don't, I think that's going to change a lot of people's opinions.
Yeah. Well, I'll be a few hundo lighter. I'll put it to you that way. Oh, easy come, easy go, as they say. Hey, but you know what? I do have a 26-18 record right now. So, and I've lost like my last 5, so it was looking even better before that. Yeah, we're gonna stop it. We're gonna stop it here tonight. I think you know what? Let's give the people some picks here before we head out. I've got and know this. I think I'm 1-5. No, 1-5, 2-4, something like that in my last 6. Oh, and the Suns hire Monty Williams as head coach, which is hilarious.
I don't know why he wants that job, but
I do not like him taking that job whatsoever. That is not good.
Nothing against, it's nothing to me. It's nothing against the players, and it's nothing against Monty Williams, but that, their ownership is a nightmare, and I don't know. Don't buy a house, Monty. That's all I have to say. Don't buy a house because.
And if anybody puts goats in your office, just slap them. Silly. Did you hear about that? It sounds like you didn't hear about that. Yeah, no. Sarver put goats in. What was it? Ryan McDonough's office.
Why is that?
So he would know to go get like a greatest of all time type player and bring him to Phoenix. And then the goats. He brought three goats into the office, and the three goats just proceeded to crap all over the place. Like, no, you can't make this up. Like, Sarver is.
But I didn't know you just went and did that. Is that how you are a GM? You just go get one of those players?
Yeah. You just call up LeBron and be like, "Hey, dude, come to Phoenix. I hear the weather's good."
I'll go get Shaq. Just go get him. Just go get him. Jordan, just go get him. Okay.
So picks before we go. I got looks like I got Boston minus 1.5 the other day. It's now -2. So I still like the under, but not a lot. The minus 219.5. I do think they play under. And then I added the over for Denver-Portland tonight is plus 215.5. I think neither team can stop each other, and neither team could make a bucket in the last one, so they are obviously due. Anything else from you, my friend?
Nah.
Well put. I got nothing else for anybody else either. But I am happy that we did a show this week.
I like Portland for this series. They'll win 6.
Ooh, we are on opposite sides again. I'll say this: I am not confident in my Denver pick at all. I think that's why this round is really good, though, is because there's just a lot of evenly matched series right now. So we'll watch it all together. We'll have a good time. You can find us online at www.hoop-ball.com and facebook.com/KOZANDBRU show and Twitter www.twitter.com/KOZANDBRU show. Nobody heard that. Another one's in the books. Peace.
You are listening to the Cos and Brew Show.